You guys were talking about civil service protections and the idea of
Yes.
like a fourth branch of government.
Yes.
So I want to lay out a case for you and why I think that Schedule F, which is what Trump implemented towards the end of his first term, could be used to, what you were saying, erode our institutions in this country. So at the end of Trump's first term, after he lost the election, he was putting a lot of pressure on his Attorney General, Bill Barr, to claim the election was fraudulent, even though Bill Barr said that's not the case. I'm not going to do that. Bill Barr ends up resigning, and then he replaces him with an acting Attorney General, Jeff Rosen. Jeff Rosen also refuses to do that. And then he finds this guy named Jeffrey Clark in the Department of Justice, who basically says, if you make me the Attorney General, I'll send a letter to swing states falsely claiming fraud and sort of pressure them to send electors for you instead. The only reason Trump wasn't able to pull that off is because we had senior DOJ officials threaten to resign en masse. If Trump can replace those types of senior DOJ officials in a second term and circumvent Senate confirmation processes by having acting appointments, then that gives him a lot of free reign he shouldn't have without the check of Senate confirmation, for example, which is a check on the executive branch. And just one more thing, when we talk about things like OSHA, correct me if I'm wrong, but did that end up going through or no?
I know, because we sued them.
Right, so it was unconstitutional, right?
It was found unconstitutional,
sure.
yes.
So the issue here is there's an interview J.D. Vance did, I think in 2018 or 2019 when he was a senator, and he basically said, if I was giving Donald Trump one piece of advice, I would tell him to fire every single civil servant in the administrative state, and then I would tell him if the Supreme Court stops him that he should defy the Supreme Court. So that is the vice presidential nominee of a major political party explicitly saying that he wants to create a constitutional crisis where the president of the United States has unilateral control over the executive branch, which is what enforces judicial decisions, and then he's going to disregard their decisions when it comes to appointing people.
So, I mean, I would agree that the Supreme Court of the United States does have the provenance of deciding these particular issues, and I disagree with JD if that's something that JD said, which I assume he did,
Sure.
since you're saying that. So when it comes to the sort of idea that you can just go right through all of the employees and fire everybody and you'll just have acting attorney generals forever, there will be no impeachment power on behalf of Congress, and that he'll send a letter to the states, and then you'd have to assume that all the states would then go along with this. You're assuming that every single part of every single branch of the government goes along with all of this.